to me.
And the relationship isn't there between Mickey and Walter Elliott. What crime has Walter been accused of?
He's been accused of killing his wife and her lover in a one of their homes. I mean, one of the aspects of this character is his wealth and how he kind of keeps score by the different homes he's acquired. And it becomes somewhat of a joke. Like, he has so many different homes. How can he spend any amount of time in any of them?
All in the same area,
Yeah,
essentially,
yeah,
Southern
yeah, and
California.
that's really kind of a thing that's based on truth with some people. It's a way of, as I say, keeping score. But anyway, he's suspicious, and he finds his wife, or goes to a house in Malibu because he thinks his wife is having a liaison. And when he gets there, according to his story, he finds them both already dead and calls the sheriff's department. And pretty soon he's arrested, and evidence indicates that he actually killed them. And his story about finding them dead is made up. And that's really the crux of the trial that takes place in the latter half of the book.
Now, we also have a character we're all familiar with in your work, stops by to pay Mickey a little visit. What's Harry Bosch up to nowadays?
Well, Harry Bosch is the guy I've been writing about for a long time, and he has a blood connection to Mickey Haller that's been hinted at in earlier books. And as we've said, this story, the inciting action that gets this thing going, is the murder of a defense attorney named Jerry Vincent. So Mickey's called in to take over Jerry Vincent's cases, and in the process of doing that, he collides with Harry Bosch, who is investigating Jerry Vincent's murder. And so they have an uneasy relationship, at least at first, because Harry wants to see everything he can about Vincent's cases, his office, his files, and so forth. And Mickey, by nature of being the attorney of record now, has to defend these newfound clients from intrusion of their privacy by the government, by the police, in the image of Harry Bosch.
Now, when approaching Harry from Mickey's point of view, how's that different for you as a writer as when Harry is the main point of a story?
Well, from the standpoint of having written 13, 14 books about Harry Bosch, where you ride inside his head and see the world through his eyes, this was a refreshing change. The one thing that I knew was happening, though, when I was writing it is, when you're in, I mean, let me back up. Harry is a tough guy. Outwardly, he is brusque. He's sometimes cynical, acerbic, all these things, all outside things. But if you like these characters, because in those books you ride inside with him, and what he's thinking, what he's hoping for, what the things that hurt him, all these things tend to sand off the sharp edges of that character, and you end up liking him, or I hope you end up liking him. That's the plan. In this book, you never get inside his head. All you see about Harry is what you see through Mickey's eyes, and Mickey is suspicious of the police from the get-go. So you see a different Harry Bosch in this book. You just see the way he acts outside, and I think maybe people will look at him and think he's somewhat of a jerk because you just see the kind of relentless side of him, where he's just trying to solve this case, and whatever it takes, he's willing to do.
Is it a way of honing his edge again?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been writing about him since about 1989 was when I first wrote the first page that Harry Bosch was on. And so I'm really engaged in ways of keeping him alive inside of me so that I can be excited about writing about him. Because it's not the same as reading. Reading a Harry Bosch book takes, 2-3 days, whatever. Writing a Harry Bosch book takes almost a year. And so I have to be engaged in ways of keeping him exciting to me, making me want to get up early in the morning to write about Harry Bosch. And so if there's any time that I can show him in a different dimension, then I'll jump on that. And that's what happened in this book. And, I think in the course of this book, there's maybe 8 sections where these two are on the same page, Haller and Bosch. And they were by far the best times of the writing process. And if I wasn't writing as part of the book where they were both on the page, I couldn't wait to get to that section. And that was really the kind of like the through line for me as the writer that took me through this process.
Now, in your writing process, do you write the story from beginning to end, or are you more episodic when you write?
No, I start out. I don't outline my books, but I start out with the beginning and the end. I kind of, like in this case, I knew it would begin with Mickey getting called into the judge's chambers and being given these cases, learning that Jerry Vincent has been murdered, and I knew how it would end. I knew who did it, and I didn't know everything in between or how I would get there. There's a whole segment in here on a trial. There's a segment on picking a jury. These were things that when I wrote page one, I did not know I would get into.
Do you have to go back and revise a bit to keep things jibed up?
Yeah, every book I write goes through about 3 revisions, and not only is it to get things to match up along the way, but it's also to get momentum into the story. My manuscripts get shorter with each rewrite. I kind of fine-tune them, cut stuff that is not germane or that might be slowing down the forward momentum of the story, and that's the main thing that comes out of rewriting for me.
When you started writing, how long did it take you to feel comfortable and trust your instincts when you were writing in fiction?
It took a while. I mean, I wrote 2 books I never sent anywhere because I did not trust them or didn't trust myself or wasn't confident in them. They were good learning experiences, but the 3rd book was the first time I wrote about the character of Harry Bosch, and while I was writing that book, I really felt confident that I had finally kind of made it around the curve and knew what I was doing. And that whole process from the point I said, okay, I'm ready to write fiction, and I wrote these 2 unpublished books and finally wrote one that was accepted, took about 6 years. And, I don't look at it like, oh my gosh, it took 6 years. I look at it as a natural progression and actually a good time.
Well, a painter doesn't show their first painting normally.
Okay, good. Good to know that.
Has there come a time when Harry actually surprises you, or do you already know all of his nuances and corners?
I don't know. That there's the answer is semantics. I write Harry Bosch, so nothing really surprises me. I mean, he can't do anything that I didn't put in the paper. But on the other hand, the first book that Harry Bosch was in was published in 1992, and now here we are, 2008. So some of the things that have happened since then in the 16 years. I didn't see coming, or in 1992, I would not expect that, in 2008, I'd even be writing about him, let alone that he would have a child, that he would have been married and divorced, and all the things that have happened in his evolution. So I didn't have like this long master plan. And so in that respect, I see things that are surprising. But in the day-to-day writing of a Harry Bosch story or a Mickey Holler story or any of my characters, I'm not like suddenly surprised by what has come out and is on the screen there in front of me. Like, where did that come from? No, that kind of stuff doesn't happen to me. I know other writers say that, but I'm waiting for that to happen to me.